Hi everybody, this is Hannah. Hi everybody, this is Hannah. Let's try that again. I started too early then. I'm doing an interview with the wonderful Kathrin Hutson. Kathrin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Hannah. I'm Kathrin Hutson. I write dark fantasy, urban fantasy, speculative fiction, dystopian sci-fi, and LGBTQ speculative fiction thrown in there. Here and there.
Brilliant. That sounds awesome. So basically, peeps, what we're going to be doing today is we're just going to be chatting about a book that Kathrin's written and asking some questions. And then at the end, we're going to be having a little chat maybe. If you guys want to have a chat with us, mostly with Kathrin, obviously, then send us comments, send us messages, DMs and stuff, all that good stuff. And hopefully if you've not been able to give us your questions before this interview, then you'll be able to ask your questions afterwards. So let's start.
All right.
My first question was, where with Witching Vault, which is the book that we're discussing today, this came out December last year, did it? Yes. Had to remember that. I was like,
got it. Well done.
So it's essentially a Christmas release, which is great.
A little bit. That wasn't intentional. It's not a Christmas themed book by any means, but it did come out. Yeah, end of the year, December.
I bet that was exciting as well.
It was really exciting. It was definitely the most excitement I've had around any of my releases to date so far. So that was
brilliant.
Wonderful.
And people can buy themselves the book now because it's on Amazon and it's on your website.
Yes, you can buy signed paperback copies from me on my website, and then ebooks and paperback are also available on Amazon, and the paperbacks are available across the board at all retailers. So there's
brilliant.
That too.
Awesome. So my first structured question for today was, where did the idea of a magical vault come from?
Yes. Actually, and being completely honest, this idea for a magical vault, a magical bank, being sort of the centerpiece of an entire series, was sparked from one of the very first series I'd ever ghostwritten for a longtime client of mine. And it was just a tiny little piece of a thread in one of the books and disappeared. And then after we finished that series, my client asked, like, oh, what would you like to work on next? And I've got that fantastic relationship with them. They're a fairly big publisher, so they're always open for new ideas. And I pitched this idea of a magical bank to my client, and they passed on it. And so I said, well, okay, I'll just file that away in my secret little store of ideas. And then it started building and growing and turned into the Witching Vault and the Accessory to Magic series. And I'm really glad that I got to keep the idea. It would have been completely different if I had pursued it with this client, but I got to put my own spin on it, put it in a completely different world, and change everything.
So that sounds
it
great.
Worked.
It was really unique, and I did a book review on this recently. I really like the idea that the bank itself, the vault, the Witching Vault, was it was mischievous as well as sentient, and that was completely unique in my mind. I've not yet come across anything quite like that. A sentient building. It reminded me a little bit of what I would have imagined the Harry Potter vault to be like. But obviously this was a little independently run business rather than this conglomerate monster.
Yeah.
So I really thought that was really quite cool.
Thank you.
Anyway, because we've got so much to talk about, I don't want to talk about it all in the first question. My second question was, Jessica's quite a rough and ready character, rough and tough sort of character. Was she inspired by anyone you know or respect?
Yes. Well, so first of all, I wanted to write more or less a character that was like Jessica Jones and the it is Marvel, isn't it? Universe? It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I
fear in my face there.
I know, like, what is it? Yeah, so I fell in love with Netflix's Jessica Jones series. So, this is after Jessica Jones, the character, has retired from being a superhero, and she's just trying to make it in any way she can. And she's also very rough and tumble and like doesn't like anybody and does things her own way. So that was part of the inspiration that I drew on for Jessica Northwood.
Yeah.
And then the rest of her character is just so much of my own experiences and myself. And I know that you and I had touched on this like when I was marketing these books a long time ago, that Jessica says everything I wish I could say out loud to people. She's not very nice sometimes, but it's that like she just doesn't care. She's been through so much that she doesn't care what other people think. And that may be one of the biggest differences between Jessica and myself. I've been through a lot. I still care what other people think because I'll work it out. But she, this is a story of redemption in a way with a character who is still, stubborn and has a bunch of flaws, but has a really great sense of humor, whether or not other characters in the book agree with how funny I think she is.
Yeah. And it's like she is the younger Tabitha, who is, well, we'll touch on this again in the next question, I think. Tabitha's, quite a fun character who I feel when she was in her heyday would have been very much like Jessica.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you got that feeling. That's good.
And obviously the bank liked that personality type because the bank chose Jessica. So it'll be interesting to kind of dream about what would have happened with Tabitha. Was Tabitha chosen by the original owner or the previous owner or the bank? And then I had this crazy theory, right? This is like, whirlwinding now. Snowballing, that's the word. I had a crazy theory that the owner is either the bank or, I know that's a crazy one, or it's the lizard.
No.
Something about the lizard, and I just don't know what it is. I think it's the lizard. Don't tell me.
There's definitely something about the lizard. Like, okay. I'm glad that I wrote it to the point where people could say, there's something about the lizard. I won't say anything.
No, that's perfect. I know I don't want it spoiled, but this is what I do. I come up with these things, like trying to figure out, again, Harry Potter, trying to figure out what the final Horcrux was. Right. And I was like, it's Harry. He's the Horcrux. Like, I figured it out ages ago. Anyway, moving on. My third question is, I love the fact there are lots of different races in the book, which you've detailed, but which one is your favorite?
Yes. Yes. I really liked the changelings that are in there. So this is, a world that has all the different magical races and creatures. Excuse me. And there are, half whatevers, half changelings, half giants, and I've thrown those in there here and there because they've been around for a while. The changelings are, I think, probably my favorite because they're sort of like shapeshifters, but they don't like turn into animals or different beasts or whatever. Yeah. There's a great fight scene at the end of The Witching Vault, book 1, where one of the changelings transforms her hand into a blade and uses it to kill some people.
That was very cool. That was very cool. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. What? So they don't need weapons and they can, look like whatever they want to look like. That's part of their thing. And then the Umbals too were very fun. And I only just got to barely scratch the surface of this race at the end of book 1. And they didn't really come back in book 2 as much. I'm almost finished with book 3, and I got so much more into this race as well. They live on multiple planes of existence at the same time, and they cause a lot of damage, but then get tapped out and tired really quickly. So that's one of their different things.
So the Umbals, I felt like they might have been, because with some fantasy authors, they take a lot of inspiration from real life events and real life mythological creatures. Were the Umbals based off a mythological creature at one point, or?
I want to say not intentionally or consciously, but I have read so much and have done so much research just for all my other projects that it's impossible to completely separate everything I've learned and everything I've written and read from whatever else comes up. So I'm sure, what did it remind you of? I'm curious though, because it just came into my head and I was like, oh, this sounds great.
I don't know. It feels like there's something on the edge of my memory and I can't quite place it. But that's really fascinating, because then I'm pretty sure as the story evolves into the next book and the next, there'll be more like that across all the different characters. I know there will be.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like sometimes with fantasy, it is hard to come up with characters that no one's done before.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything wrong with like recreating characters like trolls, and the way that you see them is fascinating. I was like, actually, they're quite cool. Like they've got like magical clubs and stuff like that, and that's pretty cool. And they're not like the ugly things that we see in Lord of the Rings films,
Right.
Great big.
Right. They're not. Yeah, they're totally different. And I think I draw. I mean, just admittedly, I draw a lot of my like fantasy race creature inspiration from World of Warcraft, because I play a lot of it.
Yes.
So they're more like that. There's an admission right there. Or Skyrim, or like a bunch of games where like I really like the way these worlds are laid out. I'll just borrow some things. So like the orcs in the Accessory to Magic series are nothing like Lord of the Rings orcs either, and trolls, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's fun to redesign a popular mythological creature. Like vampires and werewolves have been reimagined so many times.
So many, yeah.
With different abilities, or myths about the abilities. Like, why can't vampires go in the sun? Because they got sparkly skin.
Nope, I guess.
Like, oh, that's quite unique. I didn't think about that. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. So my next question. Number 4, there feels like there could be so much more to this world. Would you consider publishing a book that details different species, races, and maybe magical trinkets from Jessica's magical world?
Yes. I feel like I would get really bored with trying to map out an entire encyclopedia, essentially, of this world. The fun for me lies in coming up with all these things in the actual process of writing the book. So I do feel like, for me personally, anything that has like an importance to the story, anything that the readers need to know about the world or the artifacts or the magic system, will be delivered through the process of reading. And I wonder also whether I would even be able to, if I were to make an encyclopedia of all these things, it would be like 4 pages. Yeah, it wouldn't be very long, just because I wouldn't know where else to draw from if it hasn't already been put in the book.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it with fantasy. Quite a few fantasy authors, independent and mainstream, have done something similar, like a glossary of things. And I kind of think it would be nice with this one if fans could do their own thing with it, maybe. Like, what's it called? Wattpad. If someone on Wattpad decided to, right, I'm going to create a spin-off here, and then it can be like a whole new world. And then that would be amazing to kind of encourage more fans to be able to do their own thing with this sort of work, and even mainstream work as well, though mainstream authors may not like it as much.
Right. Well,
they want it copyrighted.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I get flattered when readers are like, "Ooh, this is what I think about this, and I'll take it this direction." And I would I would probably end up reading through what anyone else created and be like, "Ooh, I like that. That's good. I'm gonna I'm gonna take that.
I'm gonna take that.
It was designed off of my world anyway, so
Yeah.
that's fun. Thank you. But
well, I think it's quite interesting. Like most books are inspired by anything in what, like I've read so many books, and I can see, oh right, yeah, that's Cinderella, that's whatever, certain elements from this story here, Snow White, whatever, and it all does seem to stem from the very sort of traditional German fairy tales. It's quite interesting. But yeah, no, I just thought that would be an interesting thing to discuss, maybe. And I've never actually asked anybody that question, purely because it's just, so I just thought, just see what you think.
Yeah. Hey, it'd be fun.
Definitely. What techniques do you use to be able to write up a world that has such consistent world building?
Consistency. Thank you. The only thing I really do, I make a series Bible. So I guess it's the shorthand version of this encyclopedia or glossary that we were talking about. But really my process for this is I write out the first draft as quickly as possible. So if I don't have names or descriptions or even an idea for an item that has to be used, I'll put it in brackets within the Word document and just say the thing or name, and leave a placeholder for myself. And then when I finish the first draft, I go back through and fill in all those brackets. So it helps me pump out my writing a lot more quickly, and then I can go back and do the research later and figure out how I want to pull it all together later. And it saves so much time because I don't have to constantly be breaking myself out of the writing zone to go figure out what to name this person. And then I keep a glossary on my computer of all the names that I picked and all the places and the locations and details and names of spells or what have you. And I just kind of keep it there. It wouldn't make sense for anyone else to look at because it's just in my own shorthand. Like no one would get it. But that's how I keep on track. And I've written so many series, both of my own, but mostly ghostwriting for my clients, that keeping that sort of series Bible is pretty much essential, because otherwise I forget.
Awesome.
I forget.
Forget
what I wrote in the beginning.
I completely understand. I mean, in a way, that's kind of if someone else saw that, like you say, they wouldn't know what it was. Imagine they might just think it's a code to some secret treasure. That'd be great. Imagine if this whole other thing became a thing because of your thing.
And then everyone's wondering, where the heck is it? I don't know.
It's just my secret book. And it ties in quite nicely with the next question, really, as the description of the vault is really detailed. How do you write something with this much detail? Is it this technique that you use a lot, that you do a very rough outline and then you revisit it, or do you incorporate other things into it?
It's actually just a one-time through for me. With the exception of putting placeholders and brackets around names and details and stuff, I actually end up writing very clean first drafts from the very beginning that don't need much revision. I know it's a gift and a curse. Like I feel so bad about it. A lot of the time, so like I have been through my fair share of extensive revisions in the very beginning. And I think I've written so many books now at this point that it's just kind of a process that just flows, which is wonderful. It's been an exercise in building that writing muscle that I've been able to hone. But no, I think how it works for me when I'm just sitting down and writing exactly what I see is that's how it is. I'm writing exactly what I see. And I do believe that the best way to write vivid description of anything is to use as few words as possible and as little description as possible, so that every single word counts, delivers a precise picture. And so that's where you get that imagery from, without, I'm not going to spend an entire page describing the witching vault, but in a paragraph or two, I can get across that feel. And then, a lot of the time that feel of a place or a person or a scene comes through like dialogue between the characters or internal thoughts on the main character's perspective. I lost the end of that thought, but those are, different ways to pull it through. Like instead of saying, the witching vault was huge, I think there's something about a conversation that Jessica and Tabitha had the first time. And it's, showing like their voices were echoing up forever or whatever, to give that. And I can't even quote my own book. So there's that.
Well, I thought it was quite interesting because a lot of authors like Garth Nix, he writes pages of description. Personally, I love it. I loved your style of writing as well. I totally cottoned on to it early on, and I was like, right, brilliant, to the point. Let's get on with the story. But I do love authors like Garth Nix because I really loved the way he describes stuff. But when I pictured the vault, I actually pictured my first home. I would live there when I was a little girl. And I think we left when I was about 7. And it's a pre-1900s Victorian house. So it's like maybe 1850, I think.
Cool.
And it's got like a front room, a middle room, a huge kitchen. And I imagined the front room and the middle room to be the front of the shop and the stairs to be the stairs that go up. And then the vault to be where the pantry led down into the basement.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what cool. And I think as a reader, a lot of readers do use what they have experience of in their heads to imagine stories. But it just fits so well with the old building of the Victorian house, and then the upstairs was exactly the same layout as my old house. It's really, I haven't lived there since I was 7 and I'm 32 this year. It shouldn't really be in my head anymore, but it was. And I think that, it's going to be different for every reader. And I think that's a talent to be able to do that every reader will be able to see that in their head in a different way. Because I think they will.
Thank you. That's awesome. I love that, bringing up those memories. So now you have the entire building just cemented in your mind.
Exactly.
Won't be forgetting it. That's good.
Exactly. Only the placement of it, where it actually was, would be in an old where was it? I can't remember, but I just remember the town, a very quiet town with residential street with a shop either side, and it was a really old-fashioned road, like Tudor period sort.
Oh, cool.
Hey, yeah, so that's what I imagined in my head. But yeah. So cool. my next question, which character did you enjoy writing at the most?
Yeah, Tabitha was the most fun out of all of them. I really, really enjoy working with characters who just seem completely and totally insane, just crazy. They've just lost it completely, but who aren't really. So Tabitha was super fun because she's, the owner of the bank. She's a woman in her late 60s, early 70s, or who knows how old she really is. And she's just scatterbrained and chaotic and can't stick to an entire conversation at once. And she can't remember Jessica's name. And she doesn't care about where Jessica's been or what she's done in her life, or the fact that she can't hold a job, because she knows that Jessica's supposed to be at the bank. And I really also love the chaotic conversation and dialogue and playing with a different character that happens when one character can see the future and the past and read everything, and the other one has no idea what's going on. And the fact that I feel like every important power, specifically in fantasy, whether it's the ability to read the future or invincibility or some the most powerfully destructive magic ever, needs to have some kind of balance to it, right? So with Tabitha, she can see the future. She knows she knows exactly when certain things are going to happen.
Not necessarily when they're happening or what order.
Right, but she knows it's coming, it's happening, it's right, it's right now. She's like basically living in deja vu constantly. And it makes her seem crazy because that would make anyone seem crazy if they were living through things they'd already seen. And then, you know, it gives a little bit of a precursor to, well, maybe Jessica's going to end up being this crazy too after having the same job. But Tabitha was so much fun to write. A lot. Yeah.
I can imagine. And also, spoiler alert, peeps. And also, I had to give a bit of a pause then, just in case. With the bank being sentient and talking to Tabitha, that's an additional distraction for her, which Jessica is now experiencing towards the end of the book. And I was just like, that's very cool. I like that idea. And it's got an accent in her head. And I really like that effect. That was quite clever.
Thank you. Yeah. And yeah, it goes to show, you know, and it seemed like Tabitha was talking to herself. She wasn't. She was actually talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite clever. Really, really interesting. And every time I read a book, I just sit down and reflect for about a week, and I go, oh, I like this part, and I like this part, and I mull it over in my head for a little while. But yeah, my next question is, getting advertising, publishing sorted is a lot of work, let alone the writing aspect. How do you find the time?
Well, I don't find the time anymore, which is wonderful. I've gotten to the point in my career now where I have found the perfect team of people who can handle all of these things for me, which it took a long time to get to this point. It's fairly new along my road. It's been, I don't know, about a year, but that helps so much because I get to free up my time for all the writing that I get to do and focusing on putting out more books and on really making sure that the books I'm putting out are the absolute best they can be. And I think it's important for any author, any writer, specifically indie authors who are going to be doing it on their own, to understand that it doesn't have to be a completely solo endeavor. Writing itself, you know, there's co-writing and collaboration of all kinds, but then also the publishing process and the business side of this doesn't have to be, oh, you're an indie author, you're doing it all yourself and you can't have help from anybody. And I did, you know, like I did think that was the case when I first started out, because I also didn't have any resources and I didn't know anyone. And so I did learn how to do all these things on my own. And it was so time consuming. And that I learned that I am capable of writing way more than I had been back when I was putting all of my time and energy into those things, marketing, promoting, production, all of it. And there are teams of people out there who are incredible at what they do. Like their superpowers lie in doing all these other technical aspects and helping indie authors grow in their own careers, just like us as authors. It's our superpower to write books. So that teamwork has been really huge for me. And now I spend maybe 5 hours a week on any of that aspect, and most of it is connecting with my team and delegating. So
no, I think that's a really important aspect to draw upon is, yes, you're an independent author and you want to self-publish, whether it be on Amazon or, you know, creating your own publishing house. Because I've read books of people who have their own publishing. I mean, is it Exquisitely Dark?
Exquisite Darkness Press.
Exquisite Darkness Press. Is that yours, or is it a collaboration thing that you've done?
It is mine. So that is my publishing company, and that's underneath my own. I have a corporation for my entire business. And thank you. I don't publish anyone but myself right now.
Well,
like that is all. Yeah, it's all put together, and I'm not sure if I ever will. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that is my business all folded into itself, and it's just me. I mean, I don't have any full-time employees.
Oh, no.
Contractors that I pay and hire, and working out.
Contractors, that it's so easy to get them in. My partner was an IT contractor, so it was easier to get him into the business rather than being an employee. And then he could just do whatever it was almost like freelance work, but probably a little bit more regular. Freelance is very hard. I don't know very much about that, but I think I've been watching a manga, not a manga. He writes fiction, and then he collaborates with a manga artist, or manga, sorry, and they do the manga version of his work, which is he writes the book, and that's it. Like he says, you don't need to be able to draw to have a manga. You can collab with other people. Exactly. I think that's really, and he's independent as well. So awesome.
I mean, I could never make a book cover. Like, I just know, like, I am the worst at visual design, anything. Like, I could never do it. So of course I'm not going to try to do it myself. I want to find someone else whose superpower it is to make book covers, and, you know, building a team, and it's all collaboration. And I feel like that is how the most successful projects get built and completed, is when it's not just, when it's just me, I can't do it all. So it would never happen.
No. Oh gosh. So now that you've experienced now that you are indeed just writing for yourself, and you're not having to worry about any of the other aspects, how quickly, if there is a time frame, can you churn out a book? Is it like a year or 6 months or?
Well, so my own books, I'm writing the Accessory to Magic series books every 6 weeks. So book 2 is already out, came out the 18th of January, and book 3, I will be finishing a week. Well, this coming Friday, it will be finished, and that will be published on March 4th. And so then I'm just continuing 6 weeks out. There will be 5 books in a series. And that is the fastest I have been able to write my own books. In addition to, I'm also ghostwriting, working for my clients. So I'm writing about 3 books a month. Wow. Give or take when my own 6 books overlap. Yeah. And but that's very fast for me. And it's been, you know, this huge switch where I can say, oh, I'm not spending all this time on doing all the other stuff for my backlist. I can now write my own books faster because I have people helping me with mine. And of course, I don't have to do anything but the writing for my ghostwriting work. I just write it and send it in, and it's done. I don't have to do anything.
They edit it for you and everything. You don't have to like keep revisiting it or anything.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. And that's also, you know, like the gift/curse of writing really clean first drafts. Is that it?
Yeah.
I think, I've had maybe 2 books come back ever where it was like, can you change this paragraph? And that was it. So that's very nice. But so about every 6 weeks, which is, I'm surprising myself with this for my own work. I can do it super quickly for other people. Yeah. With my own work, it's like, oh wow, I actually have this extra time.
Yeah. Do you find that you're more of a perfectionist with your own work?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And I go back through it with a fine-tooth comb. Definitely a lot more. I still have my own editor, and I still have all my own people looking at it for me as well. But there are, you know, my style in my own books, and especially in the Accessory to Magic series, is much different than, you know, my style when I'm writing for my clients and under their pen names and whatever genres they happen to be writing. So yes, I am a perfectionist for my own work. I want it to be the best that it is up to my standards. And, you know, when it's with ghostwriting, I'm not writing just like blah and putting it down on paper. They're good books. This is why I have a long time clients, is because, you know, I'm not writing awful things, but I definitely feel differently about them for sure.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'll ask you a few more questions in a bit about ghostwriting, because I have no idea. I just think, I mean, before when I found out that a famous author used a ghostwriter, who was it? I can't remember. Probably shouldn't name anyway.
So many of them. I mean, but it's a lot more prevalent.
I felt like all the fame that they're getting and all the credit they're getting. That goes to the ghostwriter. That's not fair. But we'll touch upon that in a
We'll
moment.
talk about it. That's okay. I've got answers. It's fine.
So my next question was, do you have any pearls of wisdom for some of our more fresh writers? New writers?
Yes, always my wisdom advice, whatever you call it, is just to keep writing, to finish a project first before worrying about anything else. There's never going to be a manuscript sent to an editor or publishing to start, or whether you're going traditional or indie. Those things will never happen if the manuscript doesn't get finished first. And that's why I have tweaked my own way of writing to where I put placeholder brackets around everything, so it doesn't pull me out of the writing zone. When I'm ready to write, I'm ready to write, and I don't want to stop to go down the rabbit hole of internet. Like internet anything. It's so awful, and I can't do it. So just getting out that first draft, whether or not an entire chapter or scene or the first half of the book, if you feel like it sucks, that's fine. It's there, it's on paper, and you can go back and improve. That's always been the first thing. Just keep writing. And there was a point in my life where I didn't touch a word of fiction for 4 years, because I was worried about the fact that I could even still do it after various rough patches in my life. And sometimes I've stopped now. I've stopped getting down on myself for being like, it took 4 years just to sit down and be like, oh, okay, you can do it still. Like, what? But I think that we are our own worst critics. So when we give ourselves that permission to just sit down, write it, finish it, then the ball can get rolling after that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. I mean, I'm just currently writing my first book, and it's taken me since April. It's taken a long time.
Okay. No, I don't want anyone to ever compare themselves to the speed with which I write anything. So I'm like, no. But no, it took me 4 years to write my first, way back when. And everyone's different as long as you keep putting the words on the page.
Yeah. I think that's a really good tip, because I think a lot of new writers, I mean, I'm friends with quite a few people on Instagram, and I think a lot of them would have said to each other, what advice would you give? I personally, I would always say read, because you're only as good as what you read. But other people would say write, which is there is no one answer in this aspect, is that it's like so many things. You've got to do this, depends what suits your style.
Exactly.
So that it's quite an interesting answer. I like that one. What is on the horizon for you project-wise?
Well, I'm finishing book 3 in the Accessory to Magic series. All 5 of those books will be out, if I've done my math correctly, and I usually don't, but by the end of May or beginning of June this year. So, like I said, every 6 weeks they're coming out, and that'll be really exciting to have an entire series out so quickly. And then I'll be writing the 3rd book in my LGBTQ plus dystopian sci-fi series, Blue Helix. That one has been anticipated for quite some time. I'm hearing things from my readers that are like, wait a minute, you've got a new series. Where's the 3rd book on this one? So that'll be very fun. And then I've got something percolating on the back burner, I guess, another urban fantasy series. Probably start that later this year, but that's all about demons and all fun kinds of stuff.
Demons is always a fun topic to write and talk about, because there's just so much to it. Again, it's a whole nother, it's like a different type, it's dark fantasy, and it's a whole nother kettle of fish. Like, you've got the mythologies of this planet, and then you've got like alien mythology, which can be incorporated into Egyptian history potentially, because there's lots of conspiracies and theories. But then the underworld and the heavens, whole other kind of fish.
And it can take it in so many different directions. Like I personally will never be one to take things in a religious direction ever whatsoever. But the idea of just like purely evil demonic entities. It just gets me in my happy
Yeah.
place. I gotta go there.
Characters that are unredeemable. So delicious.
Yes, and they are the best.
Characters you just love to hate.
Yes,
That's
and then
it,
like
isn't it?
hate to love too. That's
yes.
when you know you got them. It's like,
Well,
you love them and you hate it.
speaking of, it's the Fae in the Witching Vault that gets me.
Yeah.
I felt like you have drawn attention to him quite a lot. He's a typical obnoxious, fit, handsome jerk.
Yep.
And I just like, oh yes, he's vulnerable now, and he's upset, and he's chasing away from, yes, he's running, yes, he's weak, and then suddenly, as soon as it's over, he's like, I'm an obnoxious jerk again. It's like, no.
I'm gonna just leave. Yeah, that's part of the yes.
I love that.
Brilliant. Have you had a chance to read book 2 yet? I just sent it to you.
I've got it. I haven't read it yet. No.
No, I won't say anything then.
I am a fast reader, but I do try and give a few days in between each book, so then I can mull it over. Because I don't want to just keep going from book to book to book to book, because then I'll forget about it and they're all muddled together. So yeah, I had planned about 4 or 5 books in 1 month, which I think is, okay.
Pretty doable. That's good.
Yeah, pretty doable. I know a lot of other book reviewers do like 20. I work a full-time job too.
Yeah. And I can't remember the last time I read 20 books in a year. Like, it's been a long time. So, okay.
So yeah, that always makes me laugh when I see that. I'm just like, good for you. You're a student.
Yeah. Extra time coming from somewhere. All right.
Oh dear. So this is now time for a shameless self-promo.
All right.
I can see the Witching Vault novel behind you.
Oh, it is right here. Yes, that was not on purpose, but it is right here. The Witching Vault. That's backwards, probably.
And it does look the right way round. It does look the right. Yeah.
Oh, good. Excellent. So that is the Witching Vault book line, the Associated Magic series.
Brilliant.
And this, thank you. It's available on Amazon. It is in Kindle Unlimited, so people can snag that up as well. Paperbacks are available signed from my website. It's KathrinHutsonFiction.com, and they can also be purchased from major book retailers, Barnes Noble.
Wow.
None of the other ones are coming to mind right now. You can find the paperbacks anywhere, and most of the time, online currently, not in actual bookstores at the moment. And you can find me on Facebook at Kathrin Hutson Fiction, and on Instagram at Kathrin Hutson Fiction. Those two are probably where I am the most active. I'm on Twitter at Exquisitely Dark, and I love getting emails and messages. My email is author@KathrinHutsonFiction.com, and any kind of, private messages anywhere. So I absolutely love interacting with people and geeking out. That's where you can find me.
Yeah. That's great. I love that, geeking out. So I noticed as well that on the Witching Vault cover that you've got a little sticker on there. Is that?
Oh yeah.
What does that say? Is that best-selling author, I hear?
No, this is I'll put it up here again if I can even read it. It's a Literary Titan Gold Star Book Award. So the Witching Vault received that award in December, so when it launched, which is really fantastic.
Wow.
So it's the 3rd book of mine that's received that award, and I'm happy about it. So it doesn't exist on the cover if you purchase, if anyone purchases a paperback from other stores, but with my own personal collection, I have these stickers I get to put on the books and sign them and ship them off. It's fancy.
Stick them on myself, like, I'm in the best award. No, that's great. That's absolutely amazing. I think getting an award for a book, I know there are a lot of categories out there, but there are just as many authors fighting a battle to the death. Because I've just, well, not to the death, but I've just written a short story for a competition, and I know I'm not going to win, but it's the taking part that counts, and it's an experience, so
you learn a lot from it. Definitely.
Yeah. There are 5,000 people applying in that competition. It's just an England-based competition.
Wow.
So I completely understand the competition in something like that. Would that be in that category across the world or in America or?
That was just, so Literary Titan does present awards to just international. So anyone who is delivering up books to be read and judged and receive the rewards. They, I do know that they get a lot of entries, but they also award the gold and silver stars to just a smaller group of books every month. So they have like a monthly, these are this month's awarded books and what have you. And then they come with reviews as well, which is very, very fun. I've gotten some incredible reviews from them after having also received awards from them for books. So yeah, as far as I know, that is anyone worldwide who submits them.
That's fantastic.
So
heading back to the ghostwriting, because I really wanted, I don't know anything about, this is me coming, I know nothing.
It's okay.
How did you get into that?
Yeah, so I excuse me, I had been following a different company that also provides, like ad management for Facebook ads and Amazon ads, for running those for indie authors. I haven't actually ended up using them for that. I found a different team who works better with the way that I want to go. But I had heard this company talking about they were promoting a webinar that they had of a guest who came on who was talking about how to make 6 figures a year writing fiction. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have to see how this works. I didn't know originally that it was for ghostwriting, but then immediately, the beginning, they started talking about ghostwriting in this webinar. And I really didn't have any idea what that was either. And I was like, okay, well, tell me more. And it was like an 1.5-hour webinar. And the guy who was giving it started showing numbers about like how much he had made on one project and one book and how long it took him and like all these things. And I sat there, probably started drooling, and I was like, you're telling me that I can make that much money just writing? All I have to do is write. Like I don't have to like publish or do anything. I just write. That's amazing. And so then, after the webinar, there was a chance to sign up for more, and turned into, the guy who gave the webinar was also offering like a sort of boot camp class. It was a 12-month program where he helped, start up ghostwriting careers. And I more or less essentially graduated from that 12-month program in 6 months and was on my own at that point. And I had all these repeat clients and I was writing a lot of books and it just kept going from there. So it was excuse me, just getting over a cold.
Oh no.
So it was just like I fell into it really, and sacrificed quite a bit to get to the point where I'm at now. I know the first summer that I did this ghostwriting, I didn't spend very much time at all with my husband or our daughter, who was 2 at the time, I think. So I was working a lot all the time, and it was the 2 of them all the time. And that is one of the things that I promised myself when I got to the point I wanted to be, that I would never do that again. So far, it's only been uphill from there, but it was a lot of work to be able to, I guess, train myself to write 3 to 4 books a month for the people, and to build up my rates and my experience, and being able to say, I can do this for you, and this is why I charge this much. And like you said, it's so unfair that someone else is writing these books and they're not getting credited for it. I don't care. Because ghostwriting is a fairly lucrative thing to do. And that has enabled me to get to the point where I can now hire a team to do all of the back end stuff for my books, and I don't have to touch that. And it's, I am the sole income provider for my family, and it's working very well. So eventually, I'll probably be stepping away from that when I'm doing it with my own books. So we're getting there.
Yeah, well,
it's a stepping stone. Yeah.
I guess it's really good experience as well for you to be able to do ghostwriting for other people. And like you say, you don't get as emotionally attached to them because it's not yours. But, there's nothing wrong with that as well. If you're going to hand it off to someone who's then going to perfect it even more.
Right.
So
right.
no guilt.
Yeah, no, it is. And I do still like stalk the reviews for the books I've ghostwritten, because I want to know that people are enjoying them, and they are. Yeah. And that's the best thing, or like, cool, I've done this. And it's, such great practice for not only being able to write quickly, but to be able to write in multiple different genres. The only genre I can't write is romance. So there's that, I know.
You don't need any more romance. Danielle Steele's got that one covered. I don't know. She's the romance queen.
Yeah, I can't do it. I've tried, and I end up turning it into like everybody dies, and that's not what romance readers want. So I can't do it. But yeah, and then also practice with like different styles of writing, different voice, different types of characters. Like it's pretty much everything I ghostwrite is not what I would write my own books as, but I've learned so much, and I've been able to incorporate what I've learned into my own style. And that the brainchild of that was pretty much The Witching Vault. And so far it's been working very well. So, I learned what I needed to learn, and it's definitely a fantastic experience for sure.
Are you allowed to say who you ghostwrite for? No. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Well, I could drop some names and be like, go look at like the 50 books that I've written. But I can't do that. I signed a non-disclosure agreement
I thought
with all of my clients, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. It's totally fine.
That's good for viewers to be able to find out as well, so that they know what to expect. If they wanted, writing your own book, it can be quite intimidating, because obviously you want to get it right. You don't want to mess up because it's your name on the book.
Right.
So I guess, it's really good to be able to see, ghostwriting could be an avenue that people could go down to gain more experience, and to be able to be in the publishing writing world community a bit more. Is there anything surrounding ghostwriting that you think people should keep an eye out for, or anything that you say are no-goes that people maybe take advantage? Because I compare it to something as obvious as like modeling, because you're kind of doing something similar, but it's modeling. So you're modeling clothes for someone else and selling those clothes for someone else. And in that community, in that industry, a lot of women and men are taken advantage of. Is it similar but in a different way, or what are sorry, that's a really complex question.
No, it's okay. No, I get it. I personally have not seen or heard of ghostwriters being taken advantage of. Of course, there's always, like, as a business owner or a publisher or an indie publisher, or even just an author who is enlisting the help of ghostwriters, it is difficult from that aspect to completely be able to know that who you're hiring can write what they say they can write in the time frame they can do it, and can actually help you. So you're taking a risk with that all the time. I feel like any aspect of the publishing industry, everyone's always taking a risk with working with someone else until you've gotten down, that the flow of how these relationships work out. But I know personally for myself that, and this has come from, the last couple of years of doing this and trial and error learning, that I do much, much better with ghostwriting clients who are larger publishers, or they put out a lot of books, so they have a lot of pen names, or they're they are treating this as their business as well. Because then we're both coming at it from the same point of, this is me. I will write the books. I will, like, we will brainstorm on what to do together. I got it. Like, I got it. And you got this side of it. And we don't have to worry about that, like, interchange. I found that, clients who are wanting a ghostwriter for their first book or haven't written anything of their own yet, or who are still dipping their toes into the industry, for me personally, are much harder to work with, because they want a coach and an editor and a consultant and a ghostwriter and everything, and I just want to write. That's all I want to do. So I will stay away from that, and there's nothing bad to be said about working with clients in the very beginning who want all that, and you can provide all of it and work your way up, because I had to work my way up as well doing this, but I know now those are things that I look for, because I do treat this as my business. It is my business, and it's what I do full time, 80 hours a week. I don't know if it's that much, probably is 60 maybe, I don't know. But I hope, did that answer?
No, I mean, I asked too many questions in that, and that's what I mean, guys, when I say my structured questions were earlier on, because I just snowball. We just lose control.
It's all right. It's okay.
But no, that's absolutely fascinating, because obviously my knowledge of ghostwriting before was very, very limited, as I expect many people who haven't really researched it don't know anybody who's in the industry, because I guess not many people are saying, oh yeah, my book was written by a ghostwriter.
Right, and you can't go out and say, hey guys, I wrote this. Like, I mean, so it is. It's an underground, like, kind of, it's all word of mouth, pretty much.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today and having this crazy chat.
Awesome.
So yeah, guys, girls, peeps, go check out Kathrin Hutson on her website. I'm going to put all the links below, and we're going to social medias. This is really socially awkward of me. So yeah, go check it all out and just see what it's all about. It's a lot of what you write, isn't it, is dark fantasy. And The Witching Vault, I felt like, was quite light fantasy, but I felt it was getting darker towards the end. I was like, right, okay.
It will continue.
Yeah. For those of you who are under 16 years old, there is some gore and some violence in this, and some swearing, and maybe some mild sexual references.
Yeah.
I have to put a disclaimer out there sometimes, because I just remembered, oh, there was blood in this one. Yes, right. I need
my favorite kind.
No, the way that the house cleaned up the body, it was just like, oh my gosh, all the footprints are gone. I thought someone was invisible and was cleaning them away. I didn't think the house could actually suck it up and then release it again and drop the trainer somewhere else. That was really bizarre. I was like, what?
What are you
doing? That's so weird. But no, anyway, yes, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Yeah, this is awesome.
No problem. I'll end it here. So everybody go check it out. Thank you very much, Kathrin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.